Manchester United have been asked to be kept informed about Rayan Cherki. More talk around the striker situation involving talk of a deal involving Alejandro Garnacho, who could leave Manchester United this summer. Ruben Amorim says Bruno Fernandes is going nowhere, but is not completely convinced by Kobbie Mainoo. United are strongly considering bringing in a 6'7" striker to Old Trafford. United are asking for £40 million for Antony, and Ruben Amorim says we need to do different things in the transfer market this summer. All this plus more in today's video as we run through all the latest Manchester United news and transfer news that will keep you right up to date with everything. Welcome to Man United Review. My name's Jamie. Before we get into it, smash a like on the video and let's jump straight into it. So let's kick off with the Rayan Cherki situation. So, Manchester United have been asked to be kept informed about Rayan Cherki's situation. He has an agreement with Lyon that will allow him to move for less than £25 million this summer. Now, that I know is a name that's been mentioned in the comments on previous videos regarding the kind of attacking midfielder, the kind of number 10 position as well. Came from Graham Bailey, though, who is not always the most credible. So we'll need to I'd say take it with a pinch of salt for now, because he is a hitty-missy journalist, in my opinion. However, fantastic profile of player. Really interesting option, and would be an absolute bargain, I think, to get somebody of that quality for less than £25 million. I mean, if you look at his statistic, this is against attacking midfielders, because he's played in a few different positions, which we'll go through in a second. You know, in the top 99 percentile for assists, top 99 for expected assisted goals, 95, 99 for shot creation actions, 99 for progressive passes, 96 for take-ons. Unbelievably talented player when it comes to the attacking. I would worry a little bit about those defensive stats, but, you know, it's one of these kind of counterbalances. If you want someone attacking and you want someone to create chances and progress the ball and do that, then Rayan Cherki is a fantastic option, in my opinion. 21-year-old as well, so ticks all the boxes of being young, developmental, up and coming. He is a fantastic player. If you could get him for less than £25 million as well, then I would be all over this like a rash. 35 appearances this season, 8 goals, 18 assists. Including, 8 assists, 2 goals in the Europa League as well. So he is a fantastic player. There are a few concerns around him regarding, like I said, work rate and bits like that as well. But, for someone young and for less than £25 million, that would be an outstanding deal, in my opinion, if the report is to be believed. Can play in multiple positions as well. Played 15 times as a right winger, 10 as an attacking midfielder, 2 on the left, centre forward, centre mid. I mean, is a player that offers that versatility as well. I would see him coming in maybe as the inside kind of right 10 if you're going to push Ahmad out to right wing back, or as a rotation option, or could maybe play on the left kind of 10 as well. So very talented player, would be a massively exciting prospect. And for the price as well, that would be a bit of a bargain, in my opinion, for Rayan Cherki. I think he's really, really good player. Yes, has kind of causes for concern, which I'm sure you're going to let me know about in the comments, but is very good in terms of like a lot of metrics in terms of his stats and stuff. So yeah, would be a really, really interesting option. I like the sound of this deal as well, but again, I think there'll be competition for him, especially at that sort of price as well, and especially with his kind of stats and stuff. Do you know what I mean? But what an interesting option that would be. Keep an eye on it for you. Again, the only kind of negative is this came from Graham Bailey, who's not the most credible source. He's more hit than miss. More miss than hit, in my opinion. But keep an eye on it. I'll wait for any kind of further developments and bring you any updates as well. But give us your thoughts, Rayan Cherki. Give us your thoughts in the comments below. Is that a player that you could see doing well at United? And like I said, especially for less than £25 million, I think that would be, a bit of a bargain to kind of bring in. But give us your thoughts in the comments below. Now, another player that we've been linked with is an interesting option. So Manchester United reportedly to have dispatched scouts to make regular checks on Italy man-mountain Lorenzo Luca. United are strongly considering an offer to bring in the 6'7" striker giant to Old Trafford. That would be an interesting profile. Not a player that I've watched done some research, watched his highlights, doesn't particularly stand out from what I've kind of seen of him as well. There were, interestingly though, reports the other day that we were scouting Udinese games, and it was Omar Soulé, if you remember, that we were kind of potentially linked with. So whether he's caught the eye of the scouts, who kind of knows. Came from Tuto Mercato, though, who are not the most credible source, but it was reposted and kind of went doing the rounds at the moment. 32 appearances, 12 goals, 2 assists. Not the best kind of goal scoring, but again, you need to factor in the team that he's playing for and stuff as well. But statistically wise, does not look very good in the bottom percentile for most metrics is. But what his highlights look really good. He does look like a decent finisher. He looks like someone that's got like a bit more to his game than just being tall. Although for someone that's 6'7", winning an average aerials one as well. And I would be concerned about getting that sort of profile because we don't put crosses into the box either as well. So I think one of his biggest attributes is obviously his height. And if we're not crossing the ball into the box, would that be a little bit of waste of his kind of talents? He is linked with Inter Milan at the moment, so whether that's a bit of nonsense to link him with United to generate more of a transfer fee and get a better contract out of some potential deal there as well. That's what it felt like to me reading the kind of reports around him and doing some research. But interesting profile. We'll throw it in the mix of keep an eye on it, but I would say take it with a pinch of salt for now. But give us your thoughts on that below. That would be an interesting kind of profile. If you know more about the player and actually I'm wrong and you kind of think actually he would be a good kind of signing, give us your thoughts in the comments. Be interesting to read those later. Now, another striker always linked with is Victor Gyökeres. So Laurie Whitwell had the following to say. So talk of Victor Gyökeres to Manchester United has been tepid because of the cost involved in the deal. United might look to go a shade younger and are already exploring other options such as Liam Delap. Did kind of mention that in yesterday's video regarding the talk around Victor Gyökeres, and that felt Liam Delap does feel a little bit more like the most realistic striker at the moment, but obviously things can change. On Liam Delap, Laurie Whitwell also said the following. So Liam Delap holds an appeal for Manchester United because of his age and the prospect of recruiting him from Ipswich Town in the event of their relegation. Jason Wilcox is a fan of Delap, having worked with him at Manchester City's academy. And again, that confirms the report yesterday. I think it was from United Scout. They were saying the same thing, that Jason Wilcox is a fan of Liam Delap. He's obviously our technical director as well. And I suppose the positive from that is Jason Wilcox will know a lot more around his personality and his character behind the scenes, because obviously as football fans, we just get to see them on the pitch and interviews and what we read and on online and in the kind of newspapers and stuff regarding him. But Jason Wilcox will have a clear understanding of what his professionalism like, what his attitude's like, what he's actually like as a human being behind the scenes. And I suppose that's a positive, because that's something that sometimes you worry about scouting in other players. Do they have the right mentality, the right attitude? Can they handle the pressure and all of that stuff? And I suppose Jason Wilcox will know that about Liam Delap, having worked with him with his time at Manchester City, which would be a bit of a positive as well, in my opinion. Laurie Whitwell also went on to say, though, regarding Victor Osimhen, saying United's tight budget is a major factor in any options, including Victor Osimhen, whose wages would be an obstacle. And I think that's kind of widely reported now regarding Osimhen, is the fact that his wages are going to be a stumbling block, because we don't want to pay the sort of fees that he's wanting anymore. We want to try and reduce our wage budget so that we're not in a position where we're trapped with players on big contracts that we struggle to sell, i.e. Rashford, Casemiro, case in point. But he also said that some kind of swap deal might make that deal more financially palatable, with Napoli holding an interest in Alejandro Garnacho. So Laurie Whitwell is a credible source, probably one of the best around for Man United news. Also kind of jumping on the bandwagon of potentially some kind of swap deal with Garnacho and Victor Osimhen, which would make more sense for me anyway than the Højlund and Osimhen kind of swap nonsense that we've heard recently. And when he says swap, it's not a straight swap, right? Swaps don't happen in football. It'll be us getting like mates rates for Osimhen and then us doing a mates rate deal for Garnacho that kind of helps both teams with FFP and obviously with us with PSR rules as well. And I wouldn't necessarily rule that out, because obviously Napoli have clear interest in Garnacho. I do think we're interested in Osimhen if he would lower his wage demands, or if we could get him for something that's more within the kind of budget that we want for kind of salaries and stuff. But But yeah, we'll have to kind of keep an eye on that one. It's the wage thing with Osimhen, isn't it? But then if you could get him on a reduced kind of transfer fee and then use some of that money, I don't know, maybe a bonus or something like that as well, maybe that could be plausible, but we need to keep an eye on it for you, and I'll bring you any updates. But give us your thoughts. So Laurie Whitwell with some interesting updates there as well, effectively saying Gyökeres doesn't feel likely, more likely Liam Delap because of his kind of relationship with Jason Wilcox, his age profile, the price, all of that kind of stuff around him as well, but then also suggesting maybe some kind of deal involving Garnacho to Napoli and Osimhen to United can't be ruled out. But again, we'll need to just keep an eye on it. We're going to get all these sort of stories. Like there's going to be a daily striker talk, I think, and it's going to be, Gyökeres one day, Osimhen the next day, Mateta the next day, and so on and so forth, just because obviously teams and media news outlets and journalists and stuff know we're needing a striker, so they're going to hunt for these kind of stories, and some of it's going to be bullshit, some of it's going to be credible, but that's why you need to subscribe, because I'll try and give you a kind of breakdown of whether it is from a credible place or whether it is from a less credible place. Now, on Garnacho, so a South American journalist who's actually been fairly decent recently is saying that Alejandro Garnacho could leave Manchester United this summer. Ruben Amorim counts on him, but prefers other players in his position. So that's interesting regarding Garnacho. There's more noise. Like, I would say the Garnacho, like I'm coming to terms with potentially Garnacho being sold in the summer. The fact that if you put everything together, interest in him in January. We had a bid, kind of like we were asking for more money, but he was speaking to Napoli, couldn't agree personal terms. So that suggests that deal was a little bit further down the line than what was being reported behind the scenes. There's obviously been, does he fit the profile that we're kind of looking for? With everybody fit, where does he kind of fit within the team? And we're looking at other number 10s as well, which would maybe suggest, because if we're thinking Garnacho's the long-term number 10 solution, then why is it that's seen as it's a priority signing for us as well to go and get like another number 10? I kind of, no smoke without fire with Garnacho leaving, so I can see that being more plausible as well. But give us your thoughts on Garnacho potentially leaving in this summer. Now, another player that's been linked with potentially an exit is Kobbie Mainoo. So Ruben Amorim is not completely convinced Kobbie Mainoo has the fitness levels to be a success in his system. The club would therefore reluctantly sell for offers of around £70 million. That came from Peter Hall regarding Kobbie Mainoo. Peter Hall, I would say, hit and miss as well, so take with a bit of a pinch of salt. But it's not the first story we've heard about Mainoo. Obviously, we know we're in contract negotiations or disputes with him at the moment. All the nonsense talk around him wanting 180 to 200 grand a week have been kind of squashed by Laurie Whitwell. Said that's just bollocks, basically. That's been rebutted by everybody he's spoken to inside of the club, whether that's agent talk or whether media mischief. We'll have to kind of wait and see. Again, for me, Kobbie Mainoo, I don't think we should be selling. The Muppeteers were saying that everybody wants to get a new contract done, so he doesn't necessarily feel that there's any legs in this kind of story as well. But obviously, if a contract didn't happen, and for whatever reason, United or Amorim think that he is not suitable for the system and the style of play that we want going forward, then, reluctantly selling him for around £70 million is not the worst idea, because that's pure homegrown profit. I do think we would live to regret that decision in the future, though, as well. But, when you factor everything in as well, personally, I wouldn't want to do that. I would want to keep Kobbie Mainoo because I think he's an unbelievable talent, who's very young and has got loads of development in him as well. Do you know what I mean? But if the club, don't think he's going to fit the bill, or he doesn't sign his new contract and you get £70 million for him as well, then, that's money that we can then use to obviously rebuild the squad maybe a bit quicker with those sort of funds. But keep an eye on it for you. Give us your thoughts on that in the comments. Now, another player that we potentially are looking to sell because he's out on loan, absolutely smashing it as well, is our wonder boy, Antony. So Manchester United are confident they will be able to sell Antony for £40 million this summer after his Spanish renaissance. Atletico Madrid, as well as several Italian clubs, are monitoring Antony's revival. So again, came from Peter Hall, so we will say take that with a pinch of salt for now. But that's good for us, the fact that Antony's gone out on loan and is doing really well. And if you get clubs like Atletico Madrid and some Italian clubs, then I do think we could potentially get £40 million for him. We need to get about £30 million to avoid a loss on the PSR books. So his book value, I think, is around £28 million that we need to get. So we need to get more than that anyway. So if you can get £40 million, technically that would be turning a profit on Antony. Even though we bought him for like €100 million or whatever it was, and we're selling him for 40 is a loss. But when you, from a PSR perspective, because it goes back over the last 3 years, it would actually be seen as a profit on the books as well, which would be good. And that just shows that Antony's gone away doing really well. And the more clubs we get interested in him, the better. Obviously, I think Real Betis would be potentially in a position where they would want to keep him as well. But, you know, if they start all the nonsense of, oh, we've got no money to sell him, well, just piss off. If you want our players, then you're going to have to pay what the kind of value or around the value that United want. I'm sick of us getting our pants pulled down with exits. And if there's more teams looking at Antony, then that's better for me, because that kind of suggests that we can kind of, you know, we hold the cards then when it comes to that deal. So I think £40 million is probably, you know, I think 35 maybe with some add-ons would be probably about right for Antony. But yeah, the more clubs interested, the better. I think it comes when it comes to that. Now on the Rashford situation, he's another one that potentially we could be looking to sell in the summer. He's doing again pretty well at Aston Villa. And the press conference from Amorim yesterday was just full of questions about Rashford, media bias when it comes to English players. But he had the following to say, which I found really interesting. He said, I know Rashford very well and everybody knows his talent. He's a great player if he wants to be. So I'm not surprised. As I said, with the same with Antony, it's a good thing to see our players perform on loan in a different context. It can be good, and it's a good sign for the club. So Amorim also himself kind of saying, look, the fact that these players going out on loan are doing really well is really important for United, because that means that we can maybe get the fees for Rashford, Antony, Malacia is out on loan as well, and it's just a positive for us that the better these players perform, the better it is for us, because that just means we can sell them easier and then also get the benefit of the obviously the like Rashford's pure PSR profit. If you can get 40 million for Antony, that actually goes down as a PSR, like a book profit as well. And that's important for us going into a summer of a rebuild where we do need a sell to buy. And then obviously Rashford's wages as well. But really interesting, they said that he's a good player if he wants to be on there as well. I felt that was a little dig about Marcus Rashford, but give us your thoughts on that in the comments. Now, just on exit as well, obviously there was some nonsense over the weekend regarding Bruno and Real Madrid. So Ruben Amorim was asked that directly in his press conference, where he said that Bruno Fernandes to Real Madrid, no, it's not going to happen. I want Bruno here because we want the best players to stay with us. He's 29 or 30 years old, I think, but he's still very young because he plays 50 or 55 games every season. Between the assists and the goals, he's the type of player we want here. He's not going anywhere. And he went on to say, I have the feeling he's very happy here. He understands what we want to do, and he's a Manchester United supporter. He's the kind of player we want, and he's not going anywhere. I've already told him. He made a laugh about that as well, which I like regarding that as well. So Amorim himself putting to bed all the kind of bullshit around Real Madrid, making a £90 million bid for Bruno and all of that kind of nonsense, which came from the Daily Star. So also, though, this was quite interesting. On transfers itself, Ruben Amorim had the following to say. So on the transfer window, he said, we have to do something different, but it depends on the position and the experience of the players in the market and the market opportunity. So I don't want to say that we're just going to, we're going to just do this or that. We're trying to look at things differently because we have to change something, but anything can happen. Our goal is to build something not only for the present, but also for the long term. We'll see. So this is when he was asked directly around just going for like younger profile of players, and Amorim was like, no, we just want to, we have to do things differently though. And that's the kind of point I wanted to kind of take away from that, is the fact we do need to do things differently in the transfer market, because what we've been doing for the last 10 to 12 years absolutely has not worked. And we need to change that, because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing twice and expecting a different result. So we just keep going for the Galactico, thinking that actually, well, we'll just throw money at it and we're spending a lot of money on 2 or 3 signings and everything's going to be rosy again. Hasn't worked. It's led us, actually made things worse and led to this kind of position that we're in, where we've got a lot of players on ridiculous wages that we can't remove, or we haven't been able to remove, or we just refuse to remove because of the business model under the Glazers and Richard Arnold and Ed Woodward and stuff, where they were hoarding players because of their you know, because of their value against the kind of secure. I think they were secured it against the debt and stuff like that as well. But yeah, we do need to do things differently. And if going down a different path means going for younger profile of players, as long as they've got the right, as long as they're ticking the right boxes, they've got the right profile and they're well scouted, I'm not dead against that personally. But give us your thoughts about that in the comments below. Give us your thoughts on all the other topics discussed in today's video, because that's you all up to date with the latest Manchester United news and transfer news. Smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. See you in the next one.